Hey, it's me, OG Duffy, back with a versus video. Now, those that looked at the thumbnail will know the game we are looking at. Now, a little tale behind this game before we get into it, alright? A friend of mine from school, I ain't seen him in years, but I'm friends with him and stuff on Facebook. We used to, on a Saturday, occasionally jump on the train and go and visit local arcades, amusements. And if I remember right at the time, Anthony, you had a job after school. I think you were helping at a greengrocer, and I think you were like carrying sacks of spuds and all that sort of stuff, you know, loading up trucks and stuff. And you got paid, and then we went over to this arcade on a Saturday, and you would put all your money into this one game, Rolling Thunder. I mean, we're talking about, I recall, I think it could have been anywhere between sort of £10 to £14 if I'm right. Correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony. But anyway, how are you, fella? All good, I hope. So we're looking at Rolling Thunder. A great little game, actually, and those that have played it will know it's one that's very worthy of playing. It's sort of a run and gun game. You'll jump in the platforms and all that, and you're sort of taking on an evil cult. And of course, as with all games, you're off to rescue the girl, because it'd be rude not to. Now, anyway, we'll be looking at the following systems with this. We'll be looking at the 8-bit systems, which of course are the usual suspects: your Sinclair ZX Spectrum, your Commodore 64, and of course the Amstrad CPC. And then we'll be looking at the 16-bit variants of this, which of course are the Atari ST and the Commodore Amiga. Now, this was also released, I believe, on the Famicom or like the NES. And I think it also come out on PlayStation as some sort of obviously on a disc on PlayStation 1, the very first PlayStation, and I think it was some sort of compilation thing. So it's just a direct emulation of the arcade classic, really. So we're not looking at either of them, but we're going to go, as always, and look first at the arcade classic itself and see how it plays. All right. Before we do that, remember to stick around to the end, because you'll get my verdicts. And as always, let me know in the comments your memories of this and any other suggestions for coin-op games you'd like me to look at, alright? Anyway, here we go. Let's go take a look at the arcade classic, Rolling Thunder. So this is it, Rolling Thunder, released by Namco in 1986. I'm sure the memories are flooding right back for you now, Anthony. All right, okay. But this one is not going to cost you any money, buddy. Anyway, here we go. We're going to pump some credits in. I'm going to show you a bit of gameplay here, all right? Now, it had a good little funky tune running along, and only 2 controls to remember with this, really. And it was jump and shoot, okay? And you had to duck and all that sort of stuff as well. So you're this guy here. You're a spy. You have a basic handgun you start off with. Now, these guys creep out these doors and generally try to catch you out, okay? Now, as I said right at the beginning, you're, of course, a secret agent. You're making your way through to rescuing the damsel in distress. So many damsels in distress in so many video games. I don't know how they cope, I really don't. Okay, so you get the idea. Now, you can jump up to platforms like that, and it's not dissimilar like that, really, to a bit like Shinobi, you know, by Sega. Shinobi was not dissimilar. Now, some enemies take more than one hit, as you can see there, so they try and catch you out. But as you can see, I've now got a little machine gun, like a bit like an Uzi 9mm, really. Remember the Uzi 9mm? Very Arnie-esque for the time. Let's just get rid of them, guys. Some extra ammo in there. Get in there, get the bullets up, keep the ammo up. And basically, as I say, you just make your way through the varying levels, of which I'm not sure how many there were. I've never completed this game, even with Ultimate, you know what I mean. I should one day just sit down and play right through, you know, but I have never had done. But as you can see, it's a bit of a platformer as well. It was a good fun game, actually, and the problem is it's quite addictive. It keeps you coming back to play it again. You're like, oh, I got stuck on that level, you know? So it frustrates you a bit, and it keeps you coming, as I say. So all in all, very good game, thoroughly enjoyable. And you get the general idea from there. Several levels, but it was a tough game. Now, let's go take a look at the home systems of this. But before we do so, let me have your memories of this in the comments. Did you play this at the arcade? Did you have a friend with an addiction to it like mine? Anyway, let's go take a look at the Amstrad CPC version first. Remember, stick around for my judgments.
The first of the home systems we're looking at is the Amstrad CPC version of Rolling Thunder. Now firstly, as you can see graphically, it's not too bad. I think the standout for me on this is the colour scheme. It's nicely done, it's very colourful, it's very bright, vibrant, and you know, I find myself saying that a lot in these versus videos now. I've grown to really like the colour palette of the CPC. As you can hear, basic sounds there, and having a go at the soundtrack as well, so all in all not too bad. Negatives on this, I found the scrolling can be a bit blocky. It's a bit jolty, if anything, the scrolling. But all in all, it's not a bad attempt. You can see it's Rolling Thunder, you know, you can see what you're playing, and you know, for the kick things off, it's not too bad really. So your memories for this, guys, as always, let me know in the comments. Which system did you play this on? Did you play this at the arcade? Do you remember this? Share your memories in the comments, please. And also, when I come to my verdicts at the end, if you agree, whether you disagree, it really doesn't matter, but let me know in the comments why. Let's get a nice bit of debate going on, because it's healthy here. Anyway, that was the Amstrad CPC. Let's go take a look at the Commodore 64 next. Here we go, the Commodore 64 version. Slightly slower play than the Amstrad CPC. The typical Commodore 64 graphics we've become accustomed to. But the strange thing I found with this version was the colour scheme they went for. It's like they ignored the colours of the enemies and stuff from the arcade version and just come up with their own sort of own drab colour scheme that doesn't resemble the arcade very much at all, really, which is a shame, because you know, I'm sure the Commodore could have done better than this. Sound wise, not too bad. I felt that the Commodore SID chip could have been put to better use, but you know, all in all, it is what it is. It plays all right. But a bit of a spoiler alert here: when we come to the 16-bit versions after the 8-bits, I think you're in for a bit of a shock, people. You have been warned. So that concludes the Commodore 64 version of Rolling Thunder, and the final 8-bit system we'll be looking at next is the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, graphically, the sprites on this, I think, are excellent. I think the way they've drawn the levels, the enemies, the main character, and I think the sprites are excellent. I think they've really done a good job on this, and I think it's fairly accurate to the arcade sprites. Of course, it's the ZX Spectrum. We know it lacks colours. The Spectrum always does, you know. But all in all, I mean, back in the day when you were a Spectrum player, you got used to this sort of stuff. But I'm going to go with the sprites on this and praise them up for what they are. I think they've drawn the arcade game very, very well. Obviously, the sound, basic. But that's a Spectrum thing, we're used to that. So, no music, etc. Just some basic sound effects. But look at the speed of this and the amount of enemies and stuff, and this plays fairly well. So all in all, not a bad outing for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum on this versus video. We've got the 16 bits coming up. Trust me, you don't want to miss them, for all the wrong reasons. But anyway, do share your memories in the comments of Rolling Thunder. Did you own this on any of the systems we're looking at today, or the NES, for example, etc.? And arcade memories. Do you remember playing this in the arcade? I, for one, do. I still visit today. A very, very good game. Share your memories. This is the first of the 16-bit versions. As you can see, right, the sprites of the enemies and stuff, they look alright, you know, graphically. But bear in mind, this is a 16-bit game. And apologies, do not adjust your system, do not adjust your TV sets. It really did play at this speed. absolutely shocking. To be honest, I mean, look how slow this is. And oh, really, for a 16-bit, we expected far better than this, didn't we, really? Now, I can tell you a little bit of a spoiler. We're going to come on to the Amiga shortly. But this is going to be a really tough call between both the Amiga and the ST, because you'll soon see, I'm sure. So, not a lot to say really about this, just very, very disappointing. I mean, if I'd have bought this back in the day, I think I'd have had the right up with it. That said, though, I think this was a version you could probably learn very quickly and complete, I would imagine. Sorry about this, but that's the ST. Let's move on. Amiga next. And now the Commodore Amiga. Again, apologies. Do not adjust your system. Do not think it's my computer playing up. No, it's not. Your mobile phone's working fine, whatever you're viewing this on. This was genuinely this slow along with the ST version. Absolutely horrendous. Graphically, very, very similar to the ST. If anything, slightly brighter colours than the ST. But all in all, they're very, very hard call between the pair of them. It's my versus judgment this week is going to be a hard one. Now, one thing as well, with the music on this, right, they've got like the bass line down of the tune, but when it comes to the actual tune that goes over the bass line, they don't do it. But the ST version does. So, sonically, the ST version actually probably beats the Amiga. But let's be honest, whoever done this is just completely lazy programming, isn't it? Or was it one of them where the programmers was such a tight deadline to get it out that it was just a complete rush job? I really don't know. Someone out there, one of you guys will know, because your knowledge is second to none. So please, as always, drop it in the comments for me. Let me know your thoughts on these, please. Anyway, let's not hang around. Let's go get my verdicts.
Time for the verdicts. Now, before we get to them, if you don't already do so, please do hit the subscribe button and the notification bell as well, because hey, ding-a-ling-a-ling, it'll let you know when I upload new content, which is typically weekly, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week. Hey, God, I'm a busy boy. Anyway, let's get to it. 16-bit versions first, because I think these were the absolute worst of the lot. The Commodore Amiga versus the Atari ST. Both awfully slow. What were the programmers thinking with this? It was bloody awful on both systems, honestly. I mean, it was, as you say, that Commodore Amiga version was, oh my God, so slow. Looked awful. Sound was really basic as well, just like the bass line, there was no tune. Honestly, the programmers were just so lazy on this one, they really were. Both systems should have done so much better. Now, if I have to choose a winner, I'm going to go for the Atari ST, simply because it played slightly faster than the Amiga version, but both systems are losers in my opinion. Absolutely awful game on both. And apologies for putting you through that, guys. You know, you should expect better from me, but hey, it's not my fault. It's them lazy programs of the time. So let's go to the 8-bit systems and let's see if they did any better. And now the 8-bit systems. Coming in third position, I've given it to the Commodore 64. Now, straight away, before you all go, oh, it's the C64, you can't put it in third, I'll tell you why. Firstly, on a positive note, it knocks the Commodore Amiga and the Atari ST version into a cop tack. It played far better. It didn't look as arcade accurate as the other systems to me. And it played all right, but it had them real sort of chunky, 64 graphics that we've come to know over time. But again, I just felt it could have been better. It lacked enemies on the screen at once. It just wasn't busy enough. But compared to the 16-bit versions, my God, Commodore 64, you showed them who's boss on this. But that was third position for C64. So second position, I gave it to the Amstrad CPC, which means, yes, the humble Sinclair ZX Spectrum has come in as the overall winner for the 8-bit systems. But before we come to that, the Amstrad version. I felt it was better than the 64 version. It looked better, it played better. The negative with it was the scrolling was a bit blocky at times, you know, I thought it was a bit juddery. But it was just a busier game and just better playability than the C64 version. But to be honest, all versions really were very poor. I mean, the programming was pretty ropey on this. But this week's winner, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum. Now, I have to say, it is the best of the bunch. It beats all of them, even the 16 bits. Yes, the little specky has shown up the Amiga and the ST. It's shown them how to do a game properly. It played well. The speed was there. The characters were on screen. They were very well drawn, the sprites, and I really like that. Obviously, yes, it suffered the colours, but it's the Spectrum. We know that. But it played at a good speed, it played at a good pace, and the graphics and everything else resembled the arcade, the sprites. So the ZX Spectrum takes it this week. But to be honest, it wasn't much of a battle, really. It's just really lazy programming, really lazy. And what were the company thinking who were given the bloody contract to do this? My God, it was a shocker. Such a great game on the arcade, but just not given the justice it deserved, especially on them 16-bit systems. Now, anyway, if you agree, if you disagree, let me know in the comments as always, because I love hearing your tales of woe and sorrow and the money you wasted on some of these games, or the money you think was well spent on some of these titles. And have I got my judgment wrong? Let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching as always, guys. It's great having you on board. Look after yourselves, stay safe, have a beer or two, and hey, I'll see you at the next one. Look after yourselves. Laters.